Yet.
Okay, it's recording.
Okay, now it's recording. Come on, Kalista.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alright, in this morning we are from group 3. We are going to explain about reading tests from the subject of language testing. So it starts from explain about assessing a reading. So assessing reading will explain by Mela.
Okay, I will explain about assessing reading. Reading is the most essential skill for success in all educational contexts. Remains a skill of
Wait a
paramount.
second. What voice? Okay, do you mind try to put your earphone here? Okay, come on. Now try to talk.
Reading is the most essential skill for success in all educational contexts. Remains a skill of paramount importance as we create assessment of general language ability. It is pretty clear that reading skill is very important to be taught and also to be assessed because if we master
Okay, put your earphone away, yeah? Not too close with you. Okay, come on, try to talk.
Because if we master the reading skill, we can easily understand any context that we read by understanding. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Because if we master the reading skill, we can easily understand any context that we read by understanding various vocab. Okay, that's all. Barista, next slide.
And the second slide of purpose of reading will explain by Aisyah.
Okay, I will explain about purpose of reading. The purpose of reading is to connect the ideas on the page what already know. It is important to read with purpose. It helps to understand more what is read by people. As we know that the purpose of reading is to get the meaning from the written symbol. One of the most important tasks on the reader is to find out what the writer said. There are two basic purposes of reading ability. A. Reading for information. It is reading to study for goals such as to obtain factual information and solve problems. B. Reading for pleasure. It is reading for enjoyment, which may vary in to follow our favorite sport, comics, article, fairy tale, and movie program. Okay, next slide.
For the reading genre, we'll explain with Amel.
Okay, guys. Here I will explain about the genres of reading. The first, there are uh, the several genre of reading. Here this slide we have three genres. The first is academic reading, and the second, the job-related reading, and the third is personal reading. Um, and then there are several examples of this genre of reading. Um, the for academic reading, such as general interest article, so can be found in magazine, newspaper, and etc. And then technical report or professional journal article, and then reverse material, textbook, textbook, thesis, uh, essay or paper, test directions, uh, editorial and opinion writing. Yeah, and the second is um, as for the job-related reading, so there are several examples of this genre of reading, such as messages, letter or emails, memos, reports, schedule, label, scene, announcement, and then a form or application, questionnaires, financial documents, directories, uh, and the last is manual directions. Uh, and the last is personal reading. Um, so there are several two example of this genre of reading, such as um, newspaper and magazine, or letter, email, greeting card, invitations, and then message notes list, and then schedules, receipts, menu, maps, calendars, and then advertisements, novel, short stories, joke, drama, poetry, and then the last, comic or cartoon. And next slide. Um, okay, here we have important of genre of reading. Um, why important of genre of reading is enable the reader to apply certain schemata that will assist them in extracting appropriate meaning. Efficient readers have to know what their purpose is in reading a text, the strategy for accomplishing and purpose, and how to retain the informations. Yeah, next slide.
For the types of reading, will explain by Icha. Time is yours.
Okay, so now I'm going to explain about types of reading. So there are several types of reading performance are typically identified and the genres is already explained by Amelia Ahdar, and then they're typically identified, and this will be serves as organized of various assessment tests. So the first is perceptive, second is selective, third is interactive, and fourth is extensive. For the perceptive is reading tests involve attending to the components of larger structure of discourse, which is like letters, words, punctuation, and other graphic symbols. It's also like a bottom-up processing is implied. An assessment of basic reading skills may be carried out in a number of different ways. And from the selective, uh, in order a certain one's reading, recognition of lexical, grammatical, or discourse features of language within a very short stretch of language. There are certain typical tests that are used as follow: picture cued tasks, brief paragraph, and simple charts and graphs. Those are combination of bottom up and top down processing may be used. And for the third is interactive. Interactive is reading a process of negotiating, meaning the reader brings to the text a set of schemata for understanding it, and intake is the product of interactions. Some typical genre that include are anecdotes, short narratives, and descriptions. Beside questionnaires, memos, announcements, directions, recipes are also included in this interactive category. And the processing is top-down processing is typically the type of test that will be held for the interactive one. And although some instance of bottom-up performance may be necessary. And the last is extensive. Excessive reading applies to text, and put it on the full screen for the PPT.
Okay.
Full screen PPT-nya Aisyah.
Udah.
Di full screen presentasinya, bukan, kan udah di share screen, sekarang di full screen.
Udah full belum?
Oke, berarti internet. Oke. Oke, Dan. Lanjut aja. So the last is I'm going to continue the presentations. I was explaining about extensive types of reading. So extensive reading applies to text of more than a page, up to and including professional articles, essays, technical report, short story, and books. So these reading activities are usually done outside classroom hour, and using top-down processing is assumed for this most extensive reading. Next slide. Is it already next slide? Or is it just me?
Next slide, Aisha.
Okay, so here are some different ways for the perceptive reading for the tasks for assessing the perceptive reading. The first is reading aloud, which is the task taker sees separate letters, words, and or short sentences and reads them aloud one by one in the presence of an administrator. Since the assessment is of reading comprehension, any recognizable oral approximations of the target's response is considered correct. And the second is written response. So the same stimuli are presented. The test taker's task is to reproduce the probing writing. Hold on. And the third is multiple choice. Multiple choice response are not only a matter of choosing one or four or five possible answer. It can be as like circle the answer, true or false, choose the letter, and matching. And the last is picture cued items. So test takers are shown a picture along with a written text and are given a number of possible tasks to perform. Next slide. Okay. Here's the example for the multiple choice. There are minimal pair distinction, so they're pairing which one is the as for same and D for different. And the second is the grapheme recognition task for the test taker which circle the odd item, the one that doesn't belong. So it's also one of the types for multiple choices. Next slide. And here is the example for picture cued item. There's a picture, and then the test taker should like choose the point the word that you read here. So which one is the cat, which one is the clock, chair. So basically, this perceptive is beginner friendly. It's pretty easy to answer it. Next. And here is the selective reading. The first is multiple choice, and second is matching task. Matching task is like it offers an alternative to traditional multiple choice, or fill in the blank formats are also easier to construct than multiple choice item. And the third is editing task. Editing is for like more grammatical or rhetorical errors, is a widely used test method for assessing linguistic competence in reading. It does not only focus on grammar, but also introduce a simulation of the authentic task of editing or discerning errors in passage. And last is gap filling tasks. As we know that the response is to write a word or phrases to create sentence completion items, where test takers read part of the sentence and then they complete in by writing the phrase. Okay, next slide. Here is the example for the multiple choice. There, so selective is more vocabulary or grammatical tasks, and the beside this is the left side is the vocabulary, and the right side is the contextualized multiple choice. Okay, next. And here is the matching test, which the test taker should combine and match which one is suitable for one and another, and the one
Okay, it's a matching test. It offers an alternative to traditional multiple choice or fill in the blank format, and easier to construct and multiple choice items. There are vocabulary matching and selected response field in vocabulary. Next slide. Okay, next slide is editing task. Task taker rate choose the letter of the underlined word that is not correct. Like the example in the slide. Okay, editing for editing task is editing for the grammatical or uh, the rhetorical error is a widely used task method for assessing linguistic competence in reading. It does not only focus on grammar, but also introduce a simulation of authentic tasks of editing or discerning discerning errors in writing passages. Next slide. And the next is gap filling task. Gap filling task is the response is to write a word of praise to create sentence completion item where task takers read part of a sentence and then complete it by writing. And these are price sentence completion task in the slide. A sentence completion task. Okay, this is the last. Okay, interactive, in this slide, interactive reading. Reading is a process of negotiating meaning. The reader bring to the next a set of schemata for understanding it, and intake is the product of interaction. Some typical genres that include the anecdote, short narrative, and descriptions. Beside questionnaires, memos, announcements, direction, receipts are also included in this category. Top-down processing is typical task, although some instances of bottom-up performance may be necessary. In this attractive reading, there are several types. Close tasks, impromptu reading plus comprehension, short answer tasks, scanning, or during tasks, and yeah. Next slide. Ditya.
Okay, thank you, Mel. Yeah. I will continue my part. Thank you, Emil, for helping. My connection wasn't, no, it's not unstable. So for the close task, we can see that there's the C-test procedure and there's close edit procedure. And there's also fixed ratio deletion every seventh word. And then there's the example for the rational deletions. Next slide. And here is for the ordering test, which is sentence ordering test. Like, for the example, the test taker should put the following sentence in the correct order. So they have to put like in the correct grammatical ways. Next slide. And for extensive reading, there are three types. Extensive reading. So the first is skimming test. The second is summarizing and responding. And the third is note taking and outlining. So basically, skimming test is the process of rapid coverage of reading matter to determine is it gist or main idea. Assessment of skimming strategies is usually straightforward. And for summarizing, is one of the most common means of assessing extensive reading is to take the test taker to write a summary from a certain text, and then the note taking or outlining. And outlining is the reader comprehensions of extensive text can be assessed through an evaluations of a process of note taking and or outlining. Next. So here is the summarizing and responding questions task for the example of it. There's a direction for summarizing, there's a criteria for assessing a summary, and then there's direction for responding to reading. Okay, next.
Yes. There's my voice.
Yes, I can hear your voice.
I can hear.
Okay. For this part is explained by me is how to conduct the reading test. The first one is you need to determine the type of the test that appropriately to take out, and the second one is identify the level of test and the age, and this is because each level of age because each level of age has a different concern reading ability. And the third is answering the tester selects an appropriate text, answering that we select an appropriate text. Preparation for expeditious reading test will be the tester ability in how to test whether it will be skimming, search reading, and or scanning. Muhammad said that when tester is preparing that assessment, she or he may go through some of the considerations such as ensuring that tester selects an appropriate text and making sure that the language used in the text is suitably pitched to his or her student proficiency. And the last one is scrutinizing carefully the text to ensure that the information in each paragraph is tested. Next slide. And the last slide is a few things to consider the reading test that will explained by Vina.
Next. Aisha, next slide. Okay. There are several factors the teacher should consider when choosing a test. First is the purpose of the testing. In assessing reading, teachers have to determine the purpose of the test appropriate to the student knowledge or background knowledge, what they have known. The second is the specific information needed about the student reading comprehension. A teacher has to arrange the content of the test. The content would be a question and it would be test. The test would be appropriate to the student's level. Third, a teacher has to determine the number of students being tested, whether it's an individual, a small group, or a whole class. For the example, at the beginning level, teachers didn't need to make a complex test because the students still didn't have more knowledge or schemata in reading comprehension. Fifth, whether the test is individually or group administered test. A teacher has to determine whether the test was fulfilled individually or administered in a group. 6. The number of forms available with tests, particular if multiple administration are needed. It means that the student could be tested by two forms in assessing their reading comprehension. They are pre-test and post-test. It would make them useful for assessing their progress. And the seven, the examiner of qualification. The tester or teacher must have the high or good skills to give highly specific tests. The amount of training needed to administer a test, score it, and interpret result. In order to know the result, student comprehension teacher have to do training to students so that the teacher could make an appropriate test for students when they face the examination. That's it.
Alright, guys, that's all our explanation about reading test. We will open the.
Silakan Ibu Sri Hartati langsung ya, tiap-tiap Ibu Kepala Sekolah langsung masuk ke semuanya ya, langsung memberikan praktik baiknya. Silakan. Ibu Risma Tondang, langsung silakan Ibu, langsung saja ya, langsung pokoknya setelah satu selesai memberikan praktik ininya, manfaat praktik baiknya, langsung disambut dengan yang lain. Silakan. Hello guys, you already completed your explanation?
Yes, sir.
Because I
Yes,
saw
we did, sir.
there. Okay, I'll try to give you guys the feedback then. Yeah.
All right,
now
sir.
let's start with the first slide. Go to your guys' first slide, please. Okay, so your guys' topic here is about assessing reading, yeah, or testing in reading. First of all, when you guys try to explain about assessing reading, the first, second, and the third presenter, I guess, they're not even explaining about the topic. It is only reading it, yeah. And this is not the first time that I taught you guys. I don't like the type of your guys reading only the PowerPoint, yeah, because PowerPoint consists of several keywords or terms that you are the one that have to explain the keyword or the terms, yeah. So it is not only reading all that you guys wrote on the screen, yeah. So that will be the first, and then next one, please. Next. Okay, purpose of reading here, reading for information, reading for pleasure, and then maybe you can put also reading in academic purpose, yeah. So you have to add more about this one, purpose of reading, yeah. Next, please. Okay, for this one, genre of reading here, academic reading, the job related reading, and then personal reading. And then this what I mean by putting only the keywords, okay? So only 3 genre of reading here, and then you're the one giving the explanation. That's a good one for this slide. Next slide, please. Langsung pokoknya setelah satu selesai hingga semuanya, karena banyak, ada 19 orang ya. Silakan langsung saja. Okay, for this one, important genre of reading. Can I read to apply certain schema to all system? Okay, for this one, yeah, you have to put your guys focus on language testing, yeah, genre of reading, and then you have to mention also this one related to language testing, yeah. So you don't have to put your guys explanation not only on genre itself, but it refer to reading and then language testing, yeah. Next slide, please. Okay, this what I like also, types of reading. There are several types of reading. And then it is only 4 types of reading, really. Who's the one that giving explanation for this one? We have extensive reading, and then we have also intensive reading, yeah? Maybe you have to put also more types of reading, okay? Next slide, please.
Okay, sir.
Okay, okay, so this is only the explanation of each. Okay, skip this one. Next, please. Okay, what about this one? Multiple choice. Multiple choice kind of, okay, this is the type of reading test then, Icha?
Yes, sir. This is the example of from the selective, if I'm not mistaken.
Thanks. Next, please then. Let's skip this one. Next. Next. Okay. Next, please. After test type, next. Okay, skip this one. Select. Okay, next. Okay. Okay, after extensive reading, please. After extensive reading, please. Okay, come on. After the slide, after extensive reading. So the previous slide, put the slide after. Okay, this one still related to extensive reading or what? Page 19, please. Okay, and then 20. Okay, and then this one still related to extensive reading, Icha?
Yes. Aisyah, mungkin bagian yang how to conduct the...
Okay, come on, how to conduct then. Okay, this one, how to conduct, and then here you have to make it clear, yeah, how to you are going to conduct, how to conduct a reading test or what here, okay? And then because this one, it is still general kind of step in making a test or in creating a test. Yeah, how to conduct reading test, that will be more proper. Okay, next slide please. Okay, few things to be considered reading test. Next one please. Okay, silakan Ibu Samsi. Okay, next one, the purpose of testing, specific information needed about the student reading comprehension, the number of students being tested. Okay, what do you mean by the number of student being tested here? Who's the one that giving explanation for this slide, Icha?
Pina, sir.
Okay,
Has to determine the number of students being tested, whether it's an individual, small group, or whole class.
okay, what is it?
A teacher has to determine the number of students being tested, whether it's an individual, small group, or whole class.
Okay, so the number of student being tested here, you can simply put test taker, yeah, who's the one that being tested, yeah, and then how many of them, yeah. Okay, Pina.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then last one, the examiner qualification. What do you mean here by putting this one, examiner qualification? Come on. Tina, what do you mean by examiner qualification? Tina, hello? Tina, can you hear me? What do you mean by point number 7 here, Vina? It's not responding. Icha?
I think she cannot hear you clearly, sir.
But the rest of you can hear me clearly?
It's her connection probably.
Okay. Okay, the examiner qualification here, the meaning of the examiner qualification here, who's the one that deliver or giving the test to the student? It should be a professional teacher, yeah, that qualifies making, creating, and then giving the score for the student. That's what does it mean by the examiner qualification. Next slide, please. Okay, and then this is the last one. Thank you very much, guys. And then please now you may open the Q&A session, Icha, and then Q&A session here. It should be 4 question minimum, yeah?
Okay, sir.
Okay, 4 question minimum each session. So you can divide it into 2 sections, yeah? So in total, it will be 8 questions. Okay, come on.
Sir.
Go back to you, Icha.
Okay. Thank you for your attention. Here is the end of our presentation. Thank you so much, guys. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We will continue the Q&A sessions we'll make the room for it because I think it's going to end in 4 minutes. So I hope you guys prepare the questions. Thank you.